to produce energy. Price of natural gas decreases. Draw a market for coal and show what's happening. So what is the information you're given? Natural gas and coal are substitutes. When you hear the word substitute or complement, what should come into your mind? Demand or supply? Demand. Substitute and complements come under demand, right? So when you hear the word substitute or complement, demand should ring bells in your brain. So coal and natural gas are substitutes. We're told that producers can use either or. Price of natural gas has decreased. That's the major information given here. How does that affect market of coal? Price of natural gas has decreased. How does that affect market of coal? What do you think is going to happen to coal? Huh?
Demand goes down.
Demand for coal is going to go down. Why? Because the substitute is cheaper, and the people will buy that because it's cheaper. So demand for coal is going to decrease. So this was your initial equilibrium point, P star, Q star. This is your new equilibrium point, P1, Q1. Now what's happening in the graph? What happens as a result of, so price decrease for natural gas, their substitutes. As a result, coal's demand decreased. Demand for coal decreased. What's happening to supply? Supply is not shifting. Supply doesn't change. Good job. Supply doesn't change. What's happening to quantity supply? So before we were here, what's happening to your quantity supply? It's what? It's decreasing. It's decreasing to meet the new equilibrium point. It has to meet the new equilibrium point, right? Because markets naturally gravitate towards equilibrium. So since demand decreased, and this is your new equilibrium point, quantity supply will actually decrease to come at the new equilibrium point, because markets naturally gravitate towards that. So what's happening to quantity supply? It's decreasing. Quantity supply, decreasing. What's happening to equilibrium price?
Decreasing.
Equilibrium price went down, and equilibrium quantity
Decreasing.
decreased. Yes, you have a question? So, you understand quantity supply decreased to meet the new equilibrium, right? First, the demand shifted, demand decreased, quantity supply decreased to meet the new equilibrium. That's why QS is decreasing. Now, at this new equilibrium point, this is your new price, and This is your new quantity. Your new price is lower than your original price. And your new quantity, Q1 is your new quantity, right? Is lower than your original quantity.
Oh, okay. That makes
Does that make sense? That's okay. That's totally fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just.
So your new price is lower than your original equilibrium price, and your new equilibrium quantity is lower than your original equilibrium quantity. Make sense? My last class had the highest number of students had an A. That was the, like, most students got an A than any other grade. But they asked a lot of questions. So, I believe there were 11 A's. That's a big, and it was 35 students. That's a big number of A's. So they asked a lot of questions. That's how they got there. If you don't understand, this is very new. Like the first time when I was a student, I saw this, I was like, what? I mean, you know, it's different, it's new. So ask me what's going on if you don't understand. But there were also D's and F's. So, sorry, did I erase it?
Right, all right.
So it's not like there's not going to be any D's and F's. We hope there's not, but I tell you, if you come to class on time and take good notes and study, then you'll be fine. And ask questions and participate and pay attention. All of that. Okay, next example. Let's do one more. And then we can talk about let's do one more. Government, this is an abbreviation for government. Government increases taxes on cigarettes. I don't know how to spell that. Cigarettes. So, you're given this information. This is a new example. Government increases taxes on cigarettes. What do you think will happen to market for cigarettes? What is taxes? What's a shifter of taxes? Is a shifter of what? Supply, right? So you always start by drawing an initial market, you know. This is your original market, your original price, your original quantity. Now you're going to look at the scenario. Well, there's a tax on cigarettes now. What's going to happen to the market of cigarettes? What's going to happen to the supply? Supply will I'm sorry, what's your name? I'm sorry. Decrease. What do you think is going to happen to supply? Decrease. Okay, and which way does supply decreases?
Right.
This way? This
No.
way. This way it increases.
No.
Yeah. This is where supply is decreasing. So supply. Why is supply decreasing? Because tax is like a cost to suppliers. Whenever you increase tax, producers are like not happy. They are gonna produce less now. because taxes are costly, so supply will decrease. Now, this is your new equilibrium point. We'll call this P1, and we'll call this Q1. So what's happening in this graph? Supply has decreased. What is happening to demand? Quantity demand is what?
Decrease.
Yes, quantity demand is decreasing. It has to decrease in order to meet the new equilibrium point, right? It's decreasing to meet the new equilibrium point. So quantity demand is decreasing. Demand does not change, right? We're not shifting the demand, it's not changing. Just the quantity demand is decreasing. And what's happening to equilibrium price and quantity? Your new equilibrium price. Your new equilibrium price is higher than your old equilibrium price. So your equilibrium price has increased. What about your new quantity? Your new quantity is lower than your original equilibrium quantity. So your quantity has decreased. Now it should also make sense if you think about it intuitively. When taxes are higher, they're supplying less. You know, it's like a cost to them. So when they supply less, quantity should be lower, right? Should be lower than the original quantity because they're supplying less. Because taxes are like a cost, price will increase, right? Because there's less supply, there's less available, price, like it should intuitively make sense too, that price also increases because tax is like a cost. Okay? So we'll start from here on Monday.
So you said that the quiz is going to be on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay.
I think all the